Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our call on time. And the webinar series is this time we have an amazing panel of presenters. And it's a very interesting use case also from surveillance to intelligence. You guessed it right. So we're working with computer vision. We spoke about a lot on edge computers. And this is the best use case you can consider on AI, how it's utilizing edge computers, especially on computer vision based applications. It's include AI cameras to CCTVs, you name it, vision-based technology, videos and images, you working on it every single day. And these panelists making it global scale with enterprise-based application. So we have amazing panels around the world. We have a 13 hours apart, a presenter from Canada to a presenter from Singapore. So it's an amazing panel today. The entire world is connected. So I have an amazing moderator, our very own Mr. Ruben Kanavati Pillai. So pleasure to have him again. So Ruben is a veteran entrepreneur from Silicon Valley, a $1.3 billion company exit veteran, a proud Sri Lankan, and I love to have him on board to present this entire session with our amazing panel. Ruben, over to you.
Thanks, Miller. Thanks for having me again to moderate. I think this may be our close to 40th session of various AI data science related webinar the SenzMate is hosting. We've been doing this for last 2 years, and we are trying to be the evangelist around the world, as you mentioned, connecting from all the way from North America, South America to Australia, and in between. We have done these sessions, and today's session is very, very interesting to me. The reason being, as we started doing all this AI and different part of it lately with a large language model and document text and everything for AI started with vision. If you look at back a lot of these places, last 10 years, 12 years, before even AI as a big AI, artificial intelligence, there was machine learning, then there were various aspects of it was done based on vision. And if you look at looking at Meta or Facebook, the earlier model they were releasing was based on to approach vision. And another part of it, vision is, I don't know if you guys remember, the first paper written in, I think, 2012 or 13 about vision. What people they were asking was for people to go and look at the images, identify different objects. Is it a banana? Is it a different thing? Based on that, I think Aaron will touch upon the technology behind some of them later. Was basically how does the training work? And then you say it is a banana, it is a banana, it is a banana at a different time and with a different background and with different images, and it was able to eventually naturally identify itself. So those are the early part of the AI being trained. So what that is important is how that has evolved, and that is going to go forward in the future. Because what does that future means is, one of the things which I have to ask our panelists to address also is the important part of it, because AI, people are investing trillion of dollars building these data centers, building these compute farm, building these the edge data centers to the big data center. But the biggest challenge everybody is talking about is it a bubble or is it a boom going to be with this market? The main reason for that kind of conversation is, like the $1 trillion we are investing, can we get return out of it? So I'm hoping we will have a great discussion about the technology, how it is going to be used, as well as how that is going to help monetize this into the market. So, my background, I am in Silicon Valley. I have been part of these various ecosystem of startups to big companies building different enterprises. And I have invested in many more than 100 companies on different sectors. lately most of them or all of them are focused having some kind of AI. And what I have seen is how the vision part of the AI is being, it can be image, it can be video, it can be surveillance, it can be so many of them, and how it can be monetized. So that's how we are going to start. So we are going to have, three speakers, as well as there can be questions and answers in between. So I encourage the participant to, if you have a question, please post it in our, the question part of it, and we will ask as we go through each one of the speakers. But and as well as towards the end, we may have a time for you to come on and ask question directly also. So thank you, everybody. Again, let me start with first introducing Yuti Rana. He's a global AI ecosystem leader at Intel. But what we want to hear about from Yuti today is how he sees this, market and enterprises using the edge and AI to harvest value out of it. And mainly, his background has goes across working with OEM system integrators and ISVs to enable them to go and monetize these solutions. So Yutvir, why don't you give some background on yourself and your introduction of your career and how you got into this edge AI and IoT area, and then we can talk about how that is impacting the market.
Yeah, thanks, Ruben, and pleasure to be have on this panel and talk about how that we are seeing the transition from Vision AI into agentic AI. So just as Ruben mentioned, so I'm at Intel. I lead the global AI ecosystem, so wherein I help the enterprises and governments turn camera infrastructure into something that actually drives the decisions. And over last 20 years, I have built the ecosystem that make that possible. The ISV ecosystem, the OEM ecosystem, the channel partners, the co-innovators who take AI from proof of concept to operational reality across vertical industries. So let it be in retail, smart buildings, commercial security, smart cities, and many other. So what I have consistently found is that the technology is ready long before the ecosystem is. So the closing gap is what I do. That is the heart of what we are here to discuss, like how we can expand and take the transition as we are moving to the next future generation of AI. So and how the vision AI has been part of that. And as Ruben mentioned, so we are seeing a lot of data being generated all across. And when we talk about the data generated, the vision sensors or the cameras are the one of the biggest deployed sensors as on ground, which are generating a massive piles of data in a very high resolution. Are we making the use of that data? Are we taking any insights of that? So that is where I wanted to talk about today, how the vision AI can help in to drive more operational intelligence, which can help the organizations altogether to get the monetization, how they're deploying AI. Back to you, Ruben.
So yeah, so I think thank you for that high level introduction part of it. And if you look at from the IoT side of it, I think I see there are a lot of data is being extracted out of it, and how that data is at the edge being gleaned to make it meaningful. So as you look at the stack point of view overall, how do you see that for the amount of data being created, and how does that being analyzed and utilized in a more efficient way? Do you see any trend on that, and how people are managing that?
Yes, Ruben, like off lately, if we talk about in the last decade, we have seen the trend moving everything in the cloud because that is where the largest compute has been available and lot of AI has been happening in the cloud. But with the change and the bringing, like how we can ensure the data sovereignty, how we can take the decisions in real time. So I think now the trend is moving towards hybrid AI. So yes, there is a connectivity between the edge and to the cloud. So and how we maybe distribute the AI workload altogether from edge to the cloud altogether. And for that sake, for the various, it depends on the workloads and the use cases where we need to have that AI running locally at the edge, and where like the large models needs to be running in the cloud. It is the orchestration, how we can run small models at the edge to get the real-time insights and take the decisions, and then we can orchestrate that with the connectivity to the cloud to run the large language models and the multi models in the cloud. And the second part is also, like you have talked about, how the monetization, what we are seeing as of today is that yes, everything is going in the cloud. There is a lot of cost which is associated with, as we are doing agentic AI in the tokenization of things. But do we actually need that spend on the tokens for the real use cases? If we talk about any use cases, let it be for safety and security, for the premises security, for the retail operational intelligence, or in the logistics and all together. So how we can take that workloads for that specific use case onto the edge and enable the ecosystem to do that multi-model AI at the edge. And then, so how that the metadata and the insights can go into the cloud to have that more larger visibility as an organization level business insights in the form of a dashboard, where multiple, like hundreds of locations are collating the data together, so into a dashboard, and the operators are able to take the decisions based on that business insights, what they are getting on that.
I love the way you articulated that, because if you look at the retails, or if you look at the smaller customers, they don't, I mean, they don't have the money people want to spend to continue to go to the cloud and buy tokens and buy a lot of part of it. And on the other side, they don't need to, because they can do most of the localized analysis at the edge or close to the edge, and they can, do whatever needed. For example, for theft or for some kind of, upselling some of those product at the edge, they can do those kind of thing in their device itself. So if you think about, there is a two side of it. One of them is training, which is the big clusters and big part of it, and the inference, where you looked at it and there's short windows and all that. How do you see those two market diverging for this vision AI? Do you have any insight into how big, how what is the importance between the training and inference for this market?
Yeah, Ruben, like both are important. Like when we say from the AI perspective, both are important. And how personally I consider this is that, like, when we are doing training, we are building something and we are developing something to a product to go in the market. So that is one piece, like when we are going for anything as a solution or a product for the productization. So that is the life cycle of a product. We do, like, let's take an example for maybe any of that video analytics. And for any of that video analytics, it needs to have that, maybe the detection models and the classifying models and the tracking models all together. The efficiency and the accuracy of that model depends on how much the data we are training on that. That is very critical to get the best of the accuracy and how it can improve. So altogether the deployment scenario later on. So that way, so when it is training, it is important. And that is where, like, where we are seeing that it needs to have a lot of data which needs to be trained altogether. And that is where, like, off lately, what we have seen that trend, because there has been a limited compute. So on the edge, like what the ISV partners have maybe access to, and that is where they have been leveraging cloud to train that all that heavy models altogether onto that. But as the training, maybe the offerings are coming available, there are many good offerings available in the market, so which are just like maybe the web UI based offerings in which you can train the models onto the edge altogether. So that is one piece, like training. So we have done whatever our model pipeline or the media analytics pipeline is, we have trained it efficiently and put in a lot of data based on our specific use case. And then what comes is the critical piece is that how it is going into production, how it is being deployed. So that is where it is very important. And that is where, like, when we talk about AI as the market, there is a lot of thing coming onto that, how the inferencing is being deployed. So that is the practical deployment of AI. So when we talk about the use cases, and again, there are two ways to look at it, AI. And for the general public, when we talk about masses, we speak about a normal maybe person. So they see AI as LLMs like chat GPTs and all as on date. But when we talk about the practical AI, so we have seen that AI in the ages. Taking an example for video analytics, that been the video analytics or say vision AI has been there in the industry for last 2 3 decades. So like how
Mhm.
the normal cameras have been generating the data and they have been storing that data. And then the vision AI or video analytics came into the market, they have already been doing that analysis on that data and providing that insights for that safety operators to take that judicious decisions or take the decisions quickly, so and investigating the things more quickly. So that is where so inference and now so what is critical in inference is that in the practical scenario is that how so we are providing the throughput, how we are controlling the latency, which is very critical in some of the use cases. And that is where it is a play between edge to cloud. So we can maybe do something at the edge and also transition some data and the compute into the cloud to take that heavy workload altogether onto that.
No, I
So both
think
are
you
equally maybe important when we speak about that end-to-end pipeline deployments. Yeah.
correct. You articulated quite well, as you mentioned. I think it has been around so much. I was just talking to somebody last a few months ago about surveillance at the airport, where somebody walks in and they are able to look at their vision and look at it, and then follow them through the whole process of check-in, through the security, through the gate and movement and all that. Yes, it looks like a big brother in a surveillance, but on the other side of it, the security as well as the safety of the whole enterprises, and this can be applied across. And this is where SenzMate had some of those applications developed. So thanks, Jitvir. I think you hang around, and if there are questions comes, we'll come back to you. Now I'm going to go to Arun to discuss about some of the data pipeline or the vision pipeline SenzMate had created, because I've been associated with you guys now close to 8 to 10 years. And I saw before AI came into play, you already had this data pipeline mainly with vision in multiple markets, industrial, medical technology, agriculture, so many different areas. And you guys were doing various area, and surveillance is one of those area. So I would like, Aaron, you to talk about how you guys thought about this and how it managed within some of the technology stack you have developed at SenzMate as head of the AI and ML team here.
Yeah. Thanks, Ruben. So
Please introduce yourself first. That way people will know.
yeah, yeah. I'm working with SenzMate like for 10 years now, and we as a team started with the computer vision applications like from the starting time itself. But with time, the way we use so like you already pointed out, like the 2012 paper of computer vision. So initially it is like very simple application, like very simple CNN based models, and with time, like we also build different type of applications to suit the rent, and as well as like with available different technologies. And now we are in an agentic era, so we also focusing on some of the edge application and how we can improve that to the situation, like, and how well we can apply some of the latest technologies onto this edge system. So moving into applications, I want to introduce two of our applications today. So first is one of our main target area, which is agriculture. So we have monitoring agriculture, places, like it can be a farm or it can be a greenhouses. The passive kind of monitoring is there for long time. However, the monitoring, somebody is there to monitor or take decision. Like, even though we have cameras, like there should be some person to with the knowledge and with the expertise to monitor time to time and take decision on behalf, and and they they can't be there all the time to observe everything. So with the edge computing and also the powerful edge devices are there, so we can deploy some of these applications in different layers and monitor the like let's take greenhouse as an example. To monitor different aspects of the greenhouse with without like sending all the data to cloud, like so it can be like data storage. We can reduce the data storage cost as well as the processing cost, like without processing everything in cloud. So we build a system which can run on edge, like on premise solution, and also it won't always analyze everything. Like it do certain apply certain model, so maybe to analyze any anomalies or like observe any uh, color pattern changes in using a lightweight model. And if we observe any anomalies, then we can trigger some higher models. Like it can be to identify weeds or identify any nutrition deficiencies or diseases. Like we can trigger another model. Like instead of passive monitoring, we use a like set of models to go for a active and proactive monitoring. And if that also like identify any differences, or like if we want to based on our knowledge base, if we want to trigger another set of action, then we can go to the next layer. Like we can trigger a VLM for additional information, or like and also we can send an alert to a human acknowledgement. So this kind of virtual monitoring system can reduce the workload or like can reduce the labor usage of monitoring, as well as it can give proactive monitoring.
So, if I may add to that one,
Yeah.
it's interesting how you are coming from a hardcore technology background, and speaking of the languages. Actually, my wife is a physician, is a doctor, so I talk to her about things. And then whenever I ask her, I'm having some problem on my right ear, she will immediately look at my left ear first and say, okay, so you are right, your good side of it is the left side. Now let me look at that as a reference. What is the different? Basically the pattern matching, but is a different part of it and going part of it. So to me, when we started looking at AI as the biggest part of it, is anomaly detection. Yeah, I mean, basically you look at the billions of data, then look for this. Oh, what happened? This? Why is that? Then you start doing that, and that is where AI is great at it. And then you go down on each one of these sections. I mean, that's what you're articulating very nicely from a technology term. How do we do pattern matching and all that part of it? And AI is great at that. Yeah. So please continue.
Precisely. Yeah. So that is one of the application, and like showing the trend on like how we move from even with the computer vision, like how we are moving from a passive monitoring or passive single model observation to a multi-model analysis, and how we are moving to agentic. Another similar applications like we are focusing is one of another core area, the elderly care. So we as like people here knows, like we are focusing on elderly care and medical AI application in various areas. So monitoring elderly people is one of the area. So there are solutions like to like maybe you can fix a camera like a CCTV or something to monitor them. But again, I mean, some relatives or someone cannot be there all the time, and also, so if they are in a very old age, like they might be always like struggling to do some parts, or like so there can be caregivers and other people helping them, but they also can't be with them all the time, especially if they are in a home environment. So we build some monitoring system which can detect different patterns. Like one is it can monitor their the general behavioral pattern, and then collect data and like inform their relatives and their caregivers of their pattern, as well as it can monitor any adverse situations like fall, or like if they ask for help and everything. So uh, the use case of HA here is like, again, we don't need to the stream all the video apart to another people or another places, but we can analyze them, and then we can continuously collect data while we maintain the privacy, and like, so they can be like, they don't like want to be like always monitored, but the data will be stayed with them. Like, so if there is anything to inform, or if we collect any data, and if we need to send the analytical data outside, so that data only go outside from the device. Otherwise, like, everything will stay with them. So they will be safe, as well as like their privacy also will be maintained. So again, that's another application. We utilize the H AI, as well as like agentic improvements, like along with the vision application.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting area there is how vision connects into this agentic flow. I think nicely articulated, because most of these elder care, one of the area you were speaking of, or the agriculture part of it, agriculture plants can't speak, but the image can tell you thousand information. Same thing for the elder care. If you look at these people, they may have some disease, or suddenly they may get into something which they are not able to do routine stuff. And by looking at the videos or images, I mean, one of the things which we have looked at was, I think one of the session earlier we hosted, we talked about the memory care, or just trying to see if they are taking the medicine every day. Are they following through? What are the closets or drawers they are opening, so that way if they deviate from that particular pattern, and we are able to identify and connect with their some of the health data, health part of it, and preemptively inform their relatives or the medical professionals or EMTs to come and help them with some of these things. Because some of these cases, I mean, I have seen so many of these, and I just came back from my mother's passing, and before that, she was, what you were talking about, Aaron, was taken care by caretakers. But my brother had a video feed of her room, and if she doesn't start moving, or if she's not waking up every few hours, and he was able to contact the caregivers and say, is everything okay, and what is going on. That was very, very important part of having some peace of mind for us, as well as proactively helping. And on the other hand, also it will be more positive to know that whoever you are paying to take care of it is able to are doing their job. Because when you check and validate, and then able to provide data driven feedback, people are more genuine on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's always like using technology along with the human factor to optimize the things.
That is another part of it. I think I always touch on it. People talk about AI is going to replace this and AI is going to replace that. I mean, I'm sure you hear from in when you're talking to customers and all that part of it. The one of the area I tell them is it enhances the whatever value we provide. It does not replace. It is just like in the accounting business, when the Excel came in, people said, oh, Excel is going to do everything. No, people are going to do everything. Excel is going to help them get to the next level with the historical information, with all the data, all those things, which when you don't have to keep it in your head, all this information, and that keeps people, the human, to do more with the data rather than less, and get worried about it. So that is another the preaching moment for me, is people don't get afraid of it, because this is a huge important part of the transformation. But to be included and to be part of it is utilize this information. And now with all these tools available, from Gemini to cloud and all that, you can ask so many questions and get to the next level with that. So thank you, Arun, for what we are looking at. It again, we didn't want to get into the technology stack side of it, because that can be done one on one. So if any one of you guys listening, or looking at this recording later, want to understand how this technology stack behind this AI and video surveillance and all that works, please reach out to somebody in the SenzMate team. We can give you more detail into it. So I didn't want to get into that today, but thanks, Arun. So I'm going to next bring Leonard. He's coming from Singapore, I think. He is CEO of analytics, and where he has been focusing on industrial safety and productivity. That is another biggest area. So if you look at it, what is happening with latest manufacturing area, there are, used to be in very human centric, production mainly done in China or the larger population area. But what is lately happening is all of this manufacturing is moving back to onshoring to different countries, Western countries to all the other countries. How do you do that more efficiently, more safely, and while improving the productivity? The reason people used to go to these lower cost is the productivity can be anything, but they can get low cost. But that is not the case anymore with various things, including COVID. We have noticed the supply chain, there are so many challenges, and then geopolitical part of it and everything. So it is important to improve that one. So how do you incorporate AI into this part of it? So welcome, Leonard. Why don't you give a background on yourself and start your conversation? How are you seeing in the market?
Yeah, thanks, Ruben, for introducing us, and the SenzMate team for bringing me on. My name is Leonard. I'm the founder and CEO of Analytics. We started this 5 years ago, really to, I would say, help alleviate the problem around safety globally, right? The numbers from the International Labour Organization is not great. We are talking about 3 million deaths a year, right? Up to $3 trillion in indirect losses because of stop work orders, compliance, legal issues. But what about the families, right, of all these people and workers as well? So we started in 5 years ago with the mission to try to solve this problem in a way that makes the solution affordable for the masses, which I think is a key here. Because for quite a long time, like what my fellow panelists have mentioned as well, even though we are running on premise, cost is a concern for a lot of these companies. And generally, video analytics for certain types of use cases has been only for the people who can afford it. But there are a lot of companies that need to benefit from such a solution as well. And we focus a lot on making it as compute efficient, as highly accurate, and as configurable as possible, while trying to stay as a product-driven company and not just to build whatever use case that the customer wants, but to really focus on that extensibility and configurability so that we can easily scale for ourselves, but at the same time impact the masses and the companies and the SME and the smaller companies that require such solutions to help their operations as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard. I think when you look at this market, you've been around 5 years. I think this is a critical time of the last 5 years, because where I'm look like once when you started your company, everybody started dropping LLMs and everybody going to generative AI and everybody's going to all that. Looks like you were a little bit ahead of that time to start into this industry. And there are so much noise around generative AI and all that, but I think what you focus is so important, where the industry is and how they are safely, securely executing on that. What led you to go into this market, or is any specific use cases or any customer which drove you to start this?
Yeah. So interestingly, when we started 5 years ago, we actually spin off from research. And at that point in time, video analytics, like what Robert mentioned, it was already around for many, many years. However, there was a gap in the market for video analytics when it comes to affordability, compute efficiency, and dealing with very low resolution cameras that are still in a lot of places today, and they're still working, and customers do not want to change them. They could be as old as 8 to 10 years old, but they're still working relatively fine, right? We wanted to focus on the market to serve those customers and not ask them to upgrade their cameras and not ask them to spend a whole bunch of money for capex, and then the ROI of the solution is just prolonged. So that was really the problem statement that we started with. And also on top of that, we were funded by the largest residential developer in Singapore to do this R&D, because in construction, out of all the industries that we serve, manufacturing, logistics, ports, mining, it is one of the most challenging industries, because you have to deal with lighting, outdoor weather conditions, you have to deal with small objects, you have to deal with dynamic environments, complex scenarios, low resolution camera, challenging connectivity. It's the most challenging environment for any video analytics solution to thrive with relatively high accuracy while trying to do those complex use cases. So we've really focused a lot of that. And the third part that we focused on was also not to reinvent the wheel for a lot of use cases that have been developed before. So for example, when people think about safety and video analytics, one of the first things they think about is normally personal protective equipment detection, hard hats, vests, safety shoes, gloves. However, there are a lot of other very, very high risk elements or safety hazard scenarios, such as people standing under suspended loads, people going too close, working at height near leading edges where there are no barricades, usage of harnesses. So we always focus on a lot of very high value, challenging use cases that may not necessarily have been commonly solved yet, to really help and drive that industry forward to improve.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting what you are talking about, how you transform into different industries, but you found some use cases which can pay you to build this company and go into that. So one of the questions came from the audience that you may be able to answer, that is, when you transitioning from a passive video to active video with Vision AI, there can be so much notification because the things are happening and it is coming and all that. How do you prevent the alert fatigue? Because there are so many alerts coming in. So in your system, when you're developing these kind of thing, how do you train to make sure you don't miss any condition? That is the most important thing, because you can't miss even one case. But on the other hand, you don't overly alert the people where people just turn it off. So how do you manage? I know this is a real-time question from one of the audience here.
No, I really appreciate this question, because I think this is one of the biggest problems in the video analytics space for customers. And this is one of the problems that we tackle even before we started the company. So the way we think about it as alert fatigue is kind of a balance. It's a balance of what the customer wants, how much of alerts they want, and when do they want, and what scenarios are important to them. So the problem with video analytics, and I'll explain how we try to solve this, is that a lot of the time they are too binary. Is the scenario happening or not happening, and I trigger an alert. So for example, let's say I'm really hot, I need to take out my hat for a few seconds, and I need to wipe my sweat, and I need to put it back. Most customers don't really want those kind of alerts. They don't really care, and it's not very important to them in the context of this whole scenario, right? So there are a lot of contextual scenarios and minor nuances that need to be baked into the product to be configurable, to help them really focus on those scenarios. So even though I just mentioned one of the things, a few of the configurable parameters that we provide end users with are, for example, tracker and timers, very good tracker and timers. Because, for example, again, let's say, even if this is a valid alert that someone is not wearing their hard hat, he or she is probably not going to wear their hard hat for a while because he already made the choice, or he or she made the choice to not wear the hard hat. And they'll probably be in the camera for a couple of minutes. They do not want to have 10, 20 alerts for this scenario. You could be 100% correct, but you are only 10% meaningful. So we have built a lot of systems around things like trackers and then allowing what we call cooldowns, so that if a particular activity or individual has triggered an alert for that particular scenario in the camera before, we are not going to trigger another alert for that particular person up until the cooldown that they have defined. And what this does is then help them to narrow down a lot into the scenarios that matter for them, prevent alert fatigue, trying to close out too many issues that are pretty much similar, and also help with the accuracy front by providing a lot of parameters of what they can configure for each use case. So another example I can bring is, for example, the danger radius around the heavy machineries and the big plants, right? So you have forklifts, you have cranes, you have excavators, and all these. There are some systems that only give you the ability to configure one radius, but actually they need different radius size for different size of machinery, or maybe they have different danger radius size for the same machinery in different cameras. So when we build the system, we bake a lot of these parameters because we understand what is really important to the customer and how we can help them with this solution. And that's kind of how we solve the alert fatigue problem as well.
No, I think that's very, very, very good example and the real time, because that's what I love about this kind of webinars and session. We talk real use cases and real challenges, and and I like that actually. So I'm going to. I have another question came up. I'm going to ask for Yudhvir to answer that. One of the challenges people are continue to face is the models are continue to evolve, the hardware is continue to evolve, and at the edge, how do you do that? So one of the question came is, how do you businesses future proof their edge hardware so they aren't forced to upgrade on site servers, like the edge servers every time heavy aviation AI model is released. How do you see Yudhvir on these kind of, as you speak to the end customers saying, okay, today this one, I mean, sometimes I get fatigued with Nvidia, even though they are the leaders, so many models, so many hardware, so many things people want, like they can't even monetize the last hardware before the new one comes in. So how do you deal with that, Yudhvir?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Sir Ruben. So there are two ways to look at it. One is that what the hardware you have on site as of now, so whether that can do that the AI compute altogether, because that has been provisioned to do a certain workload. And now, as the models are improving, yes, as a tendency, we wanted to adopt the latest models. But are they solving the problem statement? What the objective we have put the systems on ground? And taking again the example like what Leonard gave, like when we talk about the video analytics, it's like the detection and classification mainly, and then the tracking. So there are like vision AI models, like if you talk about YOLO. So there have been now the latest model is YOLO V26, which has been launched. But most of the industry, what we have come across from the ISV ecosystem, almost more than 70% are still using like YOLO, maybe V11 and something like that. That is pretty old model, but decent on accuracy, decent on the latency and all the things. So it depends on that, what the workloads you need to achieve, what are the objective KPIs you need to achieve. It's like specifically on this detection, like for example, what Leonard gave is like the forklift. So our purpose is that, so when the forklift is moving, so there should not be maybe a human around the forklift. So that is a detection use case. And probably as a classes we talk about, so that is one of the class we need to detect. Second, probably we need to take if there is no box or something in the path of a forklift or something which can cause an accident on the manufacturing area, something like that. That way, what you are detecting matter is it's not that as we are upgrading the newest model that can give the better accuracy? Yes, they can give the better accuracy, but what your objective is, that matters. To support that, the compute infrastructure is aligned to that. If you can fulfill that requirement on the existing compute, good enough. And if you need to upgrade, so that way you can upgrade. And also, like when we talk about that, yes, in the industry, like last 4 to 5 years, what we have seen, the compute has evolved drastically. Now we are seeing that the compute is more heterogeneous in nature. So in the same SOCs we are seeing in the industry, the same SOC, we are having a heterogeneous die components in the piece. Like the same silicon SOC can deliver the CPU compute, it can deliver the integrated GPU compute as well as the NPU compute. So that way, so based on that, you need to take a decision what the objective, what the problem we have to solve. And for that problem is the latest vision AI models we need to have. That is where we need to upgrade the computer. Otherwise, like we can resonate on the existing compute. And that is one of the second problem is that, like Leonard also mentioned, there's a low resolution cameras, and most of the industry still as a brownfield deployment. So when we talk about, they are using the old low cameras, and still we have seen many customers who are still using the analog cameras. How we can, and taking an example for any critical establishment, they don't want to change the infrastructure, but how we can leverage the existing infrastructure and upgrade that by complementing a smart compute element in that place. This is not about that ripping apart the whole infrastructure, what has been established, but just complementing it with bringing a smart edge compute, which can take that workload and integrate in the whole solution infrastructure, which is there on site.
No, I think both of you guys articulated very well on let's work backward. What do we trying to achieve and go from there and solve the problem rather than throwing money at everything is new, everything is latest. It doesn't need to be, as you mentioned. I think it's very nice to see because one of the use cases we had worked with at SenzMate was at the medical facilities in Malaysia, where they had these old devices which were working fine, but the problem was they are not Wi-Fi connected, they are not connected to the nursing station. So what we were able to do is buy $1,000 CCTV camera, put it in front of the dials of these medical devices, and send that information back and forth. And so you, rather than going and upgrading a $500,000 to $1 million device, now you are putting $1,000 device which is monitoring all the alerts, all the colors and all the numbers, and then you have a software running on a PC which is noticing this information and creating that one. So this is basically you are putting one more layer of it, but you are not going, because most of these third world countries or the developing countries where this is there are majority of the population is living, we don't have that, but we want to improve their care. We want to improve those part of it. So I think it has been a great conversation so far, and I think we are coming to an end. I think I'm going to give all of you guys an opportunity to wrap up on give a summary of what you are looking at. So Miller, you have anything to add, or you want to do it at the end?
So thank you, Rohan. I mean, it's an amazing, thought-provoking discussion. So it's a very broader perspectives what I got. Maybe just before we got a couple of questions from the social media. I think those things were covered. I have one question. So this is usually we get in our medical tech webinars. When Gen AI is applied on medical ecosystem, but it's mostly that simulated data will be trained. On those contexts, hallucination become one of the biggest risk. And because of that reason, they always have a moderator at the end, like a doctor, for an example. So to make sure AI is not in a position to do the therapeutic application on the ground. Coming from the Gen AI aspect and applying that on the computer vision side of it, maybe Leonard or even you, or I don't know, anyone. So here also we train mostly from simulated data, right? So for industrial use cases, we apply that on real world, but it's trained on simulated environment. So how do I put it? So what about the visual hallucination, is that cause some regulative or ethical issues in the future when it become more generatively thinking about decision making itself, like in vehicles, looking at a vehicle. So usual the classic question, old lady versus a young person, and you don't have anywhere where to run, and your vehicle, who going to be hit by this, the hypothetical question type of thing. So these type of ethical concerns will occur. So how this simulated data, when it's applied on real world, and how this going to be moderated, especially in the computer vision side of it, moderated when it comes to industrial applications in the future. Do you have any thought? Do you have thought about it on this line? Maybe Leonard?
Yeah, maybe I can share a bit. I'll share my thoughts in two parts. I'll talk about some of the exciting new developments in the video analytics space, especially with the rise of world models and large language models or vision language models. And then secondly, to answer your question around some of the guardrails and what we can put. So with vision language models, and they are not exactly that we still need to run on-prem. We're talking about things like Grounding Dino, Clip, or maybe Quen, DeepSeek, right? These kind of models. They bring a whole new capability of contextual reasoning and spatial temporal understanding. What it means is that gone are the days of labeling individual objects and building logic and business logic around the models. We are now training the models as if we would train a human, right? An engineer, a doctor, or whoever. And it's the same kind of process of learning and fine-tuning and putting several guardrails when a critical decision needs to be made, similar like how we have harnesses for agents. So for video analytics, we also can put those kind of guardrails for certain things. Of course, I think video analytics is a bit harder to control.
Yes.
When it comes to that kind of logical thinking or what exactly it's trying to, how confident it is in understanding something. I think it's always the question and the dilemma of the one that you put across. It's going to be very, very tough. I think, of course, there's a third option of itself, like sacrificing itself, right? Or the car in a way to just completely come to a stop. So those are the things that we can only try our best to make sure that the process is not only about the model and then certain guardrails around the model in terms of software to not allow it to do everything. That's important, to have some checks and balances there. But for very, very, very critical ones, the human in the loop element to some extent still has to be there to do that final validation or check due to just the nature of how vision models work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's, you have any final words? Because I think we are coming across a couple of minutes. If you can close out, and then we'll go to Arun.
Yeah, sure. So how do I wanted to see, just wanted to close on what the future of AI powered operations, what we see is that. So I think the future of AI powered operations has three horizons. So when we talk about near term, vision AI becomes standard operational infrastructure, not a special innovation project, not only security tool, but a normal part of how operations manage safety, quality, throughput, and service levels. The organizations that move fastest will be the ones that connect vision AI to workflows, not just the dashboards. And then second, media term, the shift is from detection to prediction. So today the systems may detect a defect, queue a spill, and a safety gap. Tomorrow it will surface patterns that will indicate a defect is likely, a bottleneck is forming, or a safety risk is increasing before the incident happens. So, and then the long term, the real transformation is orchestration, how vision AI will become one signal in the broader operational decision fabric alongside IoT telemetry, inventory systems, workflow systems, maintenance systems, and enterprise data. So this is where the winners will not be the companies with the most models. They will be the companies with the strongest trust architecture, clear policy definitions, governance models, and clear accountability. And clear human ride, as maybe the panelists said, that human in the loop. So that is where the future is not AI replacing operators. The AI is giving operators, supervisors, they need to make better decisions at a scale no individual could manage alone altogether.
Thank you, Yithuir. So Arun, I think you see that technology evolution, you look at all the application, but technology evolution and how much models and how much things are coming out so quickly, and so like the agentic workflow is becoming so critical. How do you guys keep up with it?
Yeah, so still I feel like this is the transition period. So with the question asked like about the hardware transition, as well as like there are new security and privacy issues. Like, so we are in the transition. So we always try to learn and apply. But when you keep in mind on the application, or like the human aspect of it, like whom we are helping and how, but what are the principles we need to keep while applying them. So if we are strict on them, and if we are keep on that, right? So learning new things like will follow. Yeah, I think that is the part we need to like take on this.
Yeah, I mean, we had to keep up with because this is a very early stage of everything. Even though it is 5-10 years there, next 30-40 years, even next beyond that, it is going to be huge. Leonard, any final thoughts on your thing? I think you were given it, but let me just quickly give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, just want to wrap up that, I really hope to see video analytics, like what Rana said, to be just standard operating for all kinds of company, not only the big companies. I think everyone needs to do their part. Hardware research, software, application layer companies to really bring it to the masses, right? So I don't think it's still everywhere yet, but my hope is that, in the near
Yeah.
future we'll be able to do that.
Correct. So I will wrap up with saying, guys, this is there to stay, but let's be sensitive about the privacy, personal data, and all that. On the other hand, utilize for maximum advantage for small to medium businesses, which are the backbone of the world, not just the large companies, and try to get that one. Back to Miller to wrap it up, and I think we are going to be ending the session in any time. Miller?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ruben. Thank you so much for your work as usual. Yeah, thank you so much, Ruben. As usual, amazing job. And thank you for our panelists. End of the day, it's a perfect finish what we had. That we want to see computer vision is accessible and democratized for the SMEs and smallholder ecosystem around the world. For the global south, even it's affordable and accessible, just like what we enjoying the generative AI ecosystem and LLM models. Computer vision also will be generalized. At the same time, the regulations. So it's not much spoken as the AI going to take over the world, but Idir and Rana is perfectly pitched that this is going to be improving efficiency as usual AI context. So there's nothing to worry about. Definitely there's a guardrail we have to consider on every single industry going to be transformed. So we are very progressive and positive about it. So it's not about reactive technology. It's all about predicting and preventive and proactive technologies in the far future. So looking forward to talk more. And thank you so much for joining to the call live and the social media. And we are more than happy to engage and introduce our presenters today. And thank you for staying tuned with us, and see you all next month with another new topic. See you around the world. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.